Night Shift Whispers.
It had been nearly 2 weeks since the students at my school had relocated to a new building. The old building was undergoing renovations and was slated to be transformed into a complex containing an auditorium, library, laboratories, a warehouse, practice rooms, club rooms, a health center, student organization spaces, and a teacher's office. Simultaneously, the previous complex was scheduled for demolition to make way for a sports field. The classroom floor assignments remained as they were before. The 12th graders occupied the first floor, the 11th graders the second floor, and the 10th graders were still situated on the top floor, as was the norm. A series of events had accompanied the process of relocating classrooms, initially leading us to believe they might elucidate the peculiar incidents that followed. It all commenced with a rift between Ryan and Vanessa, the school's celebrated couple, who had previously been deemed the quintessential pair in the public's eye. Ryan hailed from class 12F, while Vanessa was a member of my class, 12C. This schism involved a third party, an 11th grader from class 11C named Janet. Initially, Vanessa and Ryan appeared harmonious all the time until one day when Ryan was caught kissing Janet in a secluded corner of the parking lot by nearly every student in my class. At that moment, we had just returned from a sports lesson at the basketball court, and the corridor we typically traverse to reach our classroom was blocked off due to repairs, forcing us to take the path through the parking lot. To the best of our knowledge, Janet and Vanessa were close friends in the extracurricular dance club. However, Vanessa was the favorite of everyone in our class, so our empathy inclined us to align somewhat with her, although it wasn't entirely justifiable. We behaved as if we were looking down on Janet, without resorting to physical violence. There were only a few condescending glances and hushed whispers behind her back. But it became apparent that Janet was deeply affected, and her classmates began supporting her. It started with minor confrontations whenever we crossed paths, and it eventually escalated into a significant rivalry between the classes, goading each other wherever we met. After the move to the new building, Class 11C was situated directly above my class. Every day at 11 a.m., there was a commotion emanating from their room, with tables and chairs being dragged around, causing a considerable amount of noise. It seemed as if they were doing it deliberately to disrupt our concentration. This disturbance lasted for about 5 minutes, a substantial interruption during the class transition period, ending only when the next teacher arrived. We were agitated and wanted to report this to the school. However, our class president was a rational individual. He insisted on gathering enough evidence before making a formal complaint to ensure that their class would be duly penalized for their actions. One day, the school's social media group suddenly buzzed with a post by Janet. She had posted a selfie with Ryan in the field behind our classroom. In the window of our room, someone was observed watching them. Both of their hands held books, obscuring half of their faces, but the person's eyes were unmistakably focused on them. Regrettably, the figure in the photograph bore a striking resemblance to me. Janet and Ryan teased me, calling me a walking CCTV who enjoyed meddling in other people's affairs. After all, Ryan and Vanessa had ended their relationship long ago, so there was no reason for me to be spying on Janet and Ryan in that manner, they argued. Many other students questioned me about it. I was confused because I didn't remember doing that. My desk was at the farthest row from the window, and I distinctly remembered that since we moved to the new building, I had never approached that window to look outside. However, the only girl in my class with long black hair was me. Who else could it be? There weren't many students with black hair in my class, and almost all of them had short hair. I insisted that the photo was doctored. Besides, being caught on camera behind a couple taking a selfie was not a crime. However, whatever Janet said, my class teacher started acting strangely. One day, out of the blue, she asked if I was okay, if I could focus on my studies, and if I wasn't having any problems. What was going on? Strangely, before starting the class, she would always call out each student's name one by one. It was as if she was so worried that one of her students might secretly slip away and cause trouble outside. She didn't need to do that because our seats were arranged in order of our attendance numbers. You could easily tell which desk was empty with just a glance. It was really strange behavior from our class teacher. That morning, I arrived early in the classroom to finish some remaining tasks. No one else was there yet, so I could focus on my work and check everything I had done. Maybe I was too focused, and I didn't hear footsteps. Suddenly, I noticed Vanessa was sitting at her desk, right beside mine. "Good morning," I greeted her. She just smiled. I took the opportunity to express my frustration about Janet's behavior. I told Vanessa that the person in the photo wasn't me, and Janet's actions were very odd. Vanessa remained silent. She walked to her locker and put her belongings inside and then left the classroom. What was wrong with her? Was she looking down on me because of that doctored photo? It didn't make any sense. A few minutes later, Vanessa reappeared. She cheerfully greeted me. "Hi Laura, you came early?" Why was she only just now engaging in small talk like this? Didn't she see me earlier? But, okay, maybe she was just joking, so I decided to ignore it. However, I soon noticed something odd when she put her belongings back into her locker. The same book, the same water bottle, the same bag, they were all placed there earlier. How could she walk in from outside carrying the exact same items without retrieving them first? Unless she had two of each. "Hey Vanessa, didn't you put your things away earlier?" I asked, puzzled. "Earlier? When?" "I just got here," she replied. "Huh? Then who was it before?" I started having strange thoughts, but I didn't dare to discuss it right there and then. I would talk to Vanessa about it later in a different place. I couldn't concentrate in the following hours, and the fear I kept to myself made me frustrated. At noon, right at 11 a.m., the commotion began again. I had had enough. This time, I couldn't bear it any longer. I was determined to catch Janet and her classmates red-handed. Fortunately, since the day before, I had already prepared a hidden camera. I needed to get there quickly before 5 minutes had passed, while they hadn't yet tidied up their tables and chairs and started pretending they were innocent. I quickly ascended to the second floor, without even informing my classmates about my intentions. The second floor corridor was very quiet. I didn't see a single person passing by. But I wasn't concerned about that because the rest of Janet's class was still inside their room. Their loud voices gave them away. They had been making noise just a few minutes ago. In a matter of seconds, I reached the door of classroom 11C. It was closed, and when I pushed it open, it was empty. There was no one inside, and all the chairs and tables were neatly arranged. How could it be empty? Just then, a school staff member passed by in the hallway. I immediately asked him about the students from Class 11C and the daily disturbance they caused. He looked puzzled and said that only the first and third floors were occupied. Class 11 hadn't moved here yet because the wall painting wasn't finished. What? How could that be? Clearly, we heard the commotion they caused every day at 11 a.m. If it wasn't Janet and her classmates, then who was responsible? Thinking about it, I suddenly shuddered in horror. Something was definitely amiss with this building. Feeling frightened, I hastily left the place and quickly descended to the first floor. Near the staircase, I met my class teacher. She seemed surprised to see me rushing and looking scared. She asked me what was going on. Unable to keep this to myself any longer, I finally told her about the strange events I had experienced that day, including what I saw in the morning when I noticed two different Vanessas taking turns entering the classroom and placing their belongings in the locker. That afternoon, my class teacher took me to the faculty room. She calmed me down and finally told me the reason why she took attendance of each student every day. In reality, our class had a total of 36 students, but the teachers often saw one extra student. Student number 37 would sit wherever they pleased, changing their appearance to resemble anyone they wished. Oh my goodness! This is insane. But I understand now why there was suddenly an image of me in Janet's selfie even though I didn't remember doing it. All these strange occurrences, they were caused by, yes, ghosts. The ghosts haunting the new building. The following month, my class was relocated to another room. Meanwhile, the haunted room was repurposed as a storage area for old items. Ryan and Janet broke up not long after, and the animosity between the classes naturally waned. However, the disruptive noises, like the sound of tables and chairs being dragged, mysteriously moved to another room.